neck rub. Little neck rub to get started. T-Rex, you need a neck rub? No, just open the door and let me out, right? Yeah, and they're off. The team is out the door. 47 degrees. It's brisk outside. 60 degrees indoors, thanks to the furnace coming on yesterday. 9:44 a.m. on Wednesday, October 16th. And it is chilly, pretty breezy. With sunshine here, solar heating for some of us today. Well, it's still snowing for others. A word about this show. This is not just all about one thing. This is out the door with the dog and the cat, and we do the weather and more. Yesterday's video, I titled it Ski Season Begins in the East, and some of the viewers were disappointed. One comment, nice thumbnail, no skiing, insta-block. What does that mean? It's a 20-minute show, and so I try and feature in the title what I think are some of the highlights. For example, today's title may be, I'm not sure yet, TK sees the comet. And I'll put an image of the comet, but it's not going to be 25 minutes on the comet. It's going to be 25 minutes on the animals, the foliage, the state of the weather, the state of the garden. Look at those beautiful tomatoes and Montauk's. And if you watch frequently, you'll know that I have IT issues and my audio goes up and down. And so it's about IT issues. That's called Cat Mint right there. That's Steve, a Maine Coon cat. And let's do this show. It's about a 25-minute program, and the highlight, and we often have spiders too, by the way. And you never know. And boating. Everything. I'm so into the outdoors, and I guess first off, still snowing this morning. As a matter of fact, I looked at all the web cameras. You know where we're snowing the hardest this morning? Killington. So you get these pulses of energy coming out of southeastern Canada. A lot of times you think, okay, Jay Peak, Mount Mansfield, but sometimes Killington, it's snowing harder than northern areas. That has to do with these pulses of energy coming down. And I guess the most viewed image was from the Sugar Bush webcam this morning. Good job, John Blair and everybody there. Getting 9.8 inches round up, 10 inches of snow. We made double digits in the northern Green Mountains. And it's not just New England, it's snowing all the way down the Appalachians, including areas that are still devastated from Hurricane Helene. It may look pretty at Beech Mountain and in the Pisgah Forest, but the residents there, their houses are in some cases in ruins and there's no heat. So it's pretty, but it's also kind of an ongoing disaster. You look at the power outage map, and power is still out to thousands of customers in North Carolina and Florida with the hurricanes. I'm not sure why Texas is all lit up, but Texas is a huge state, so isolated power outages there add up to a lot of people. Here in the Northeast, the temperature wasn't quite freezing because we had the wind, and if you have wind mixing up the atmosphere, you tend to keep the coldest air up in the sky. I call it low barometer cold, and right underneath the center of the high, that's a vast, huge high-pressure system from the Rockies all the way to the mid-Atlantic states. Underneath the center of the high, where it was light wind last night, dozens of record low temperatures. The coldest October 16th sunrise ever in our life for millions and millions of people. And when these huge highs go by, you're on the cold and often stormy side on the front side, and then they go right over you and the wind goes calm. That's going to happen in a few days here. And then on the backside, you really warm up. And that's going to happen here by the weekend. It's still looking great. Yeah, why don't I do the same things yesterday? Here's the Boston 15-day forecast. Everything works in waves. We're at the bottom of the cool wave right now. Tonight, where it goes clear and calm, it's going to be in the 20s and 30s. And then from there on in, we are going to warm it up. And by the weekend, temperatures are looking nicer than they did yesterday. We're getting to 70 by Saturday, and then in the 70s for Sunday, Monday, into much of next week. It looks very quiet, almost coast to coast, but there's going to be a change in the pattern. It's going to start snowing out west. As the snow stops here in the next 2 days, it starts snowing out west. Actually, the snow is pretty much done today. have not heard from our friends Josh and Sean hiking up at J. So if they send me anything, I'll just kind of insert it here and say, I believe that the over-under of 10 inches at J was pretty close, and my hunch is that they found probably some stashes of more than a foot of snow, especially with the wind picking up last night. The summit of Mount Washington, the wind not quite as strong as yesterday, gusted to 88 miles an hour this morning. Yeah, that's pretty strong. With a low temperature of 17 in the last 24 hours and a high of 24. The feel of early December, and there have been 8.7 inches of snow with this system as of midnight. Probably get that to 9 inches. And add in last week, we're at 14 inches of snow for the month of October on top of Mount Washington. The average for October is about 19 inches. And something would have to change in the 15-day to get us to that 19 by the end of the month. But everyone is pretty impressed with the early winter, and I'm happy that it wasn't a huge snowstorm, because often huge snowstorms this time of year mean really bad winter. Now I'm zooming in on that boat. It looks like one of the firefighters' boats, and you can see the mirage where it looks like the ocean, or the Cape Ann right there, that is Cape Ann, is floating on the water. That's because air curves towards cold, and the water is warmer than the air, so you get that mirage. And you see that on the streets too when you're traveling, especially in the desert. The mirage, it looks like the sky is in the middle of the road up ahead. So that's one of the things. And more. I just sit here, I talk, I make observations. The sun is out. It's windy. The sky is blue. What color is the water? The water is a reflection of the color of the sky. Where have all the boats gone? The boats have gone to their winter resting places, except for that sport fisher, and Yggdrasil is on the dock over there at Wessagusset. So your boats are coming out of the water, but there are going to be boats in my videos every single day, because this is a work zone here. So you're going to get the pets, the weather, and the boats, and the gardens, and I hope I'm not shoveling snow here for another 6 weeks. I'll take it on Thanksgiving. All right, so what's going to happen? You saw the Boston 15-day. The high-pressure system that's in the east is going to push offshore, but there's a storm forming at sea. Look at the national map of advisories, watches, and warnings, and that's a huge area there with the frost and the freeze this morning, and the red is red flag warning. And now we have new winter storm watches and warnings in the west, and we have a storm warning, that's the purple, off the east coast of the United States. So it's going to remain very active. There's going to be a storm forming on the east side of this high pressure system that looks like it should stay at sea, but surf weather may take the place of ski weather. We're kind of surf ski centric over the next 48 hours and 60 hours. So let's get going on that. I always show this from pivotalweather.com. It's called the ECMWF, the Euro Weather Model, and we cover most of the northern United States and southern Canada with this framing here. And here's the high pressure system going off the coast, but note it's kind of dented there. It's kind of high centered over the Appalachians, leaning up into New England, and we're going to stop it now at 11 a.m. on Friday. I often stop these maps to point out what's going on, and at this point, at 11 a.m. on Friday, you have about a 9, no, it's not even 9, it's in the 1,007 millibar low offshore and deepening, but it's up against a 1032 or so high pressure system, so a lot of isobars and gradient, and for that reason there is a storm warning in effect to the south of New England for winds of 40 to 50 knots from the northeast, and it's a slow moving storm, so it is going to send a groundswell and surf weather into New England. Now at the same time, out in Colorado, you have 1,006 millibar low, and that's generating that heavy snow at Cottonwood Canyon in western Colorado. In Utah, it's going to be snowing up into Wyoming and Idaho, and then up in the upper left in the Pacific Northwest, here comes a powerhouse storm off the Pacific, where storms are all lined up in the Pacific Ocean, and how these storms track across the nation has a huge impact on what's going to happen in New England. So look at the West Coast, and often that's going to happen somewhere on the East Coast in several days, although with all that blocking we had last month, that rule didn't really apply, did it? All right, put it back into motion. And that low in Colorado kind of falls into Texas and looks like it's dissipating, but it's not really disappearing. It just kind of fades. The storm track from British Columbia is going to go across Canada, so it's a front tracking across south-central Canada with storms going across. In Canada, it's very cold. The United States is mostly warming up. And that storm out south of New England is gradually doing a loop and then going out to near Bermuda and decaying. And that leaves us with high pressure, and wind is gradually coming around from north to west, although some sea breezes are possible. Cool nights and mild days with very dry air into Monday and Tuesday. And then not much is going on. It's a heavy wind and some rain near Florida there on the south side of this high. And the warmth coming across southeastern Canada is here until about, let's stop it now, next Wednesday night, Thursday, 24th at 2 a.m. And this is looking pretty interesting. That little dent in the red lines there south of New England, that's the Colorado low going offshore with just a few showers or thunderstorms over New Jersey or just over the ocean. To our north, that's the British Columbia low that's tracked across southern Canada, and that's a powerful storm in Quebec with a cold front aimed at us. And then well off to the southeast, you have what could be a tropical system, maybe Nadine. The models have really relaxed the output on that. Not bullish on a strong system in the tropics, so maybe our hurricane season is over. Otherwise, it's pretty nice coast to coast heading into Friday and Saturday, October 24, 25, 26. That was out 10 days. So, of course, these 10-day forecasts are subject to huge changes. And I think one of the most interesting things could be what happens around here next Thursday when you have something to the north and something from Colorado going off to the south, and that storm that could be Nadine. So if the three of those ever try and get together, then that changes the forecast. And then we keep putting that forward and go through next weekend, and a weak front comes through New England, but it's fairly quiet now. There's a high pressure system over the Great Lakes here, day 10. So there is a front right over New England, and that front may become more active than it looks right here, but otherwise kind of quiet pattern coming in. Why not, though? It's been so busy. So we're at 12 minutes. This is where I say, okay, that's the end of the weather forecast part. And here comes the and more from yesterday. Coming out here yesterday, watching the clouds go across Boston. I thought it was really interesting. A lot of Virga. We'll talk about what Virga is. We'll talk about the moon was next to Saturn last night, so I got a little bit of that. But the big news in my world is that I did manage to see the comet. And if you want to see the comet tonight, look about that high above the horizon, just to the right of where the sun goes down. It's 255 degrees to the west-southwest on your compass. Try and find someplace dark. I went down there and got a photo, but actually my best photo, I met Rich down there. Hey Rich, how's it going? But it was a little late for us right there. The best time was actually about 20 minutes past 7, and it's a real short window from about 7:15 to about 7:40 where you can see the comet. And so we have that and more. I love doing time lapse, so we're going to see a bunch of time lapse of clouds yesterday, and then my view of the comet. And hopefully I'll add in anything that my guys send me from hiking up at Jay Peak this morning, where I have a pretty good hunch that it was double digits. So the over won. Weir Lundstedt, the king of snow forecasting since I met him in college 35, 40 years ago. How long has it been, Weir? Well done, Dr. Windex, Dr. Norlund Instability Trough. Get one of those this winter, huh? All right, so here's the and more from yesterday. Talk to you later. As long as you don't block me. Oh, just a second before the end more. Animals all wrapped up. T-Rex wants to go in, and Steve, he got himself all wound around, so he just chose this spot. Cats love getting under things, don't they? All right, here's the and more from yesterday. Good passive solar, but the clouds are starting to take over. T-Rex has been laying right down right here, but it's that time. He wants to go out and lunch break. And I think it's time for us to make a time lapse of the sky, because so many layers, and this upper level low now is taken over as the surface low is north. Now we get these little perturbations, these little surface troughs, so they're going to maybe result in a shower, maybe a rainbow, maybe some grapple happening out there somewhere right now. So let's do a time lapse. T stands for time lapse. That's all I do, time lapse. Stare at the sky. Okay, come on. Rex, this way. No, come on. No. Rex, Not all the time. But today, the wind is moving much faster high in the sky. On the edge of low pressure to the north on the right, high pressure to the west on the left. So it's always a little different every day. Why we love New England. Still a long way to go for me today. Observing, wondering how much more snow. Weir says maybe another 4 at J and Stowe, which could get us to double digits. Radar not that active. Just talked to Josh. He says it's snowing at the base of the snowy rain at the base of J, and probably snowing pretty good up top. How did we do? Did we get double digits?
Yeah! Nice, Kevin. Silky.
A couple hours later, it's nearing 4 o'clock. I can really smell the salt life from down there. Decaying salt life, really. And there's a nice wall of clouds approaching, not so much me, but Jay Peak, Vermont. So I'll probably get some and more from Vermont. Otherwise, the and more from today is just these couple of time lapse. And we'll let this one go till about 4:30 and see if we can get any action, maybe some precipitation coming toward Boston. I'm gonna shift gears. I think I like the lighting better. Looking toward the east. There's our friend with the unmanned submersible. Bluefin Robotics. There's T-Rex taking an afternoon break. Fascinating sky. Then again, I think I say that just about every day, don't I? Downstairs, underneath the crow. See Rex running around. He's so excited because it's been mostly an indoor day. It's just about as cold indoors as outdoors. And I'm kidding a little bit. Virgo right there, that's snow coming out of the cloud and evaporating before it hits the ground. Closest I've come to a snowflake so far this season. And planes landing towards the west. So I'm going to aim it in that direction. We're going to make some time lapse. Just because I like the color better looking toward the east as the sun goes down. When the sun comes out from behind the cloud, it looks really pretty. And you got those altocumulus lines up there moving actually faster than the clouds below them, but you can't really tell because the clouds below them appear to be moving faster. Did you get that? Differential advection. All right, let's let this play for a while. Another hour. Long shadows. Pretty colors. Rex, please stop. And the sky is clearing for the most part. Planes continue. But nice little cell just north of Boston. There's the precipitation coming out of the cloud and evaporating in the very dry, cold air advection. Maybe we'll try and catch the comet this evening. And the moon. The moon should be up there. Yeah, the moon is up there, but it's behind the trees. And it's a full moon on the 17th this month. So we're closing in on the full moon. We got the comet, the moon, and the Venus. And I don't know what planet that was next to the moon. I gotta check it out either. Probably Jupiter, I think. Yeah, haven't cut that grass in a while. Sure, Steve and Mitt, Maine Coon cats, they don't care what the temperature is, but we got into the 50s indoors last night, and it's windy and it's cold tonight, so it happened. 10:15, October 15th. The heat just went on inside. Surf ski weather headquarters. Snowflakes coming out of the sky over Everett as the sun goes down to the south of the trees until about St. Patrick's Day or so. We've lost our sunset. And fitting, everything's on schedule, and we're gonna warm it up for a beautiful stretch of weather in about 2 or 3 days. Who's getting some grapple over there? It's just too colorful. I can't not make one more little time lapse. I gotta zoom it in. That's actually some Virga snowflakes coming out of the sky and evaporating just north of Boston.
Rock!